When I was about 6 or 7 years old, I used to go to a school where I didn't fit in very well. It was an old traditional school, and some children who attended there were the kids of the directors. There was quite a bit of injustice in how the kids were disciplined, with the kids descended from the directors not only having special treatment and easy pass when they messed up, but they also acted like dictators when the adults were not around. As a kid, that really pissed me off. Until one day, a group of kids cornered me. It was because I didn't want to do what they wanted me to do. And we ended up all fighting. I was a very skinny kid, but I never lost a fight. But the result was that we were all sent to the director. And of course, I took the blame for the situation. And after that, we were fighting all the time, because when the adults were not around, these kids were trying to run the place. The teachers trying to fix the situation, they moved me to another desk, right next to a very quiet girl. Her name was Aline, and I didn't talk to her before, and she didn't have much friends either. She was always quiet in the corner. She was beautiful. I remember that we started talking and we became really good friends. She was much nicer than the other kids in the school. She was normal, chill, funny. We started walking home together, and I saw that she lived in a very poor home, a wooden shack, basically. One of the reasons that we bonded is that she was also into video games. We both had Master Systems, which if you don't live in Europe and Brazil, it's very likely you never heard about it. And we were exchanging games every now and then. And then one day she told me that there was a game that she didn't understand how to play. I borrowed this cartridge from her, and the game was called Populous. It was a very trippy and ambitious game. Needless to say, I also didn't understand the game. It was very complex. So one day, I think it was a weekend, I went to her house to return the game. When I got there, there was some old fella, and he said that she didn't live there anymore, that she had moved somewhere else. And I was very confused, how can people just go like this? But when you're a kid, you just do what adults tell you. She never went back to school after that, and I never knew what happened to her. Over time, the memory faded. It was out of my mind. Why I'm telling you this story? Because this weekend I watched a very special movie, an Irish movie called The Quiet Girl. And the day after, this story came to my mind. I think this movie kind of explains what happened to her. But this movie touched me on a deeper level, because not only I could relate to the situations in the movie, because I faced similar situations in my life, but the movie was simple, just beautiful to look at and with no hidden agendas like most mainstream movies these days. Just a pure story, not meant to traumatize or shock or indoctrinate you. The movie acts as a mirror for the viewer to reflect their own lives, and get something out of it. And I've been thinking a lot lately about how to make my works connect with people on a more emotional level. Because I feel like that's the next step for my evolution. I want to make works that are gonna change people's lives for the better. The same way that I played many games that made my life better. I don't wanna just make some product, that people consume and then they go to the next product. I want to make stuff that people are gonna remember, because then it becomes much more than just art or games, it becomes an experience, it becomes a memory. And this movie was a master class in doing this. And one of the strongest tools that the filmmakers use to accomplish is the careful use of light and color to convey meaning and mood. And today in this video I want to analyze the lighting in different scenes of this movie and see what we can learn from it. I'll do my best to stay clear from spoilers or tell you what the movie is about, and I highly recommend this movie if you're looking for something just warmer, simple to watch, that will leave you feeling better in the end. And also that will help you grow as an artist, because they did the art in this movie very well. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. I'm just gonna go through each picture that I saved here and comment on what's happening there, like what kind of tools, what kind of techniques they're using on each scene. And then I hope by the end of this video, you will have a pretty good idea on how to apply this kind of techniques in your own work. So here I would like to point out the fact that this scene is lit mostly by the indirect light that's coming from outside. So the sunlight is opposite to the camera and is hitting the trees in the background, which causes the ray to bounce towards the room, making the room look filled by green lighting. And another thing here that it's really helping the composition is the specular that's coming from this light outside. And what they accomplish here is to inform the quality of the materials. If you don't have this kind of specular reflections in your materials, it gets very hard to understand what they are. If you want to learn more about this, check out my blog post about the art of Resident Evil 3. This was a cool lighting choice because she's hiding under the bed, and they put a very soft light that only lights up her, doesn't light up the background. And this creates this feeling that she's hiding in the dark. In the next scene, I would like to point out a contrast that they use. And first, take a look at this window. What is that window transmitting? Right? It's closed, it's dusty. This is not an open environment. God knows when was the last time they opened that window, right? Because the place looks so dusty and dark, I would say even oppressive. And they accomplish all of this just with these touches, just with how they're lighting the scene with an indirect light, with layers of curtains, and the curtains are closed. The room looks very dark, but look at her. The light just creates a perfect silhouette of her features. And she is lit in a very different way than her sisters. You see how they're much more visible. She is more in the shadows, and this was intentional to make the character appear out of place. Here's one of my favorite scenes in the movie, because I love the lighting choice that they did here of having just one light, like lighting the entire space, and this conveys a feeling of isolation, of being out of place. And the light that they chose is a man-made light, right? It's a very cold light, fluorescent light. The light temperature is very important, because if they used a warmer temperature here, it wouldn't give the same feeling, right? It would feel like, oh yeah, it's a cozy place and it's, she's there just hanging out. But the light makes it very clear that she's bored, that she is isolated, that she's not supposed to be there. So here's another contrast they use it with warm and cold light. This is an stylistic choice, but it lights her in a very beautiful way, because the light's not straight on her face, right? It's she's in the shadow in a way, and these ambient lights are used to highlight her features. And in this scene, I want to point out an interesting technique that you can use as environment artist, which is to have one dominant light source inside a room and then let the light just leak outside. This creates directionality. In this scene, she's coming out of the room, but imagine that if she's not there and you are a player in a first-person game and you see that light, you will know that that's where you're supposed to go. In this scene, I really enjoy how they placed her in a very strategic position, because the sun is hitting her head on and the lady is in the shadow, so all the attention is on her. And look how shy she looks. So this lighting creates this sense that, you know, she is the spectacle in a way, and the lady is in the audience. And yeah, it's just a beautiful placement of light, very interesting composition. These diagonals just look very pleasant to the eye. And notice how warmer the lighting looks here compared to the other place. Like here it's all a little cold, a little blue, a little purple. But here you don't see blues, you don't see purples, you see yellows, greens, reds, browns, very warm colors. And in contrast, let's look at this kitchen. What's the difference from this kitchen from the kitchen that we saw before? That's right, the curtains are open. This kitchen is being lit by the sun. Looks like direct light here. It could be reflected too, you know, it could, maybe they put something outside to reflect sunlight, I'm not sure. But just by having this little touch and this contrast, you already feel that this place is more open, that this place is brighter, more inviting. They have flowers here. The things are organized. And look at the other kitchen, right? The things are all messy. It's all closed, all dark. The walls are dark, the wood's dark. And here things are just brighter. The desk is bright, the table is brighter. You know, the furniture has colors. So think about these elements, like when you're creating, what idea are you trying to convey? And then when this idea is clear to you, every choice you make, you just direct towards that idea. And here is another very nicely lit scene. And I love how there is this natural light coming from the sky outside, from the skylight. And a lot of times, it will not be enough in a game or in a render to have only the sky. Like a lot of times you have to fake this, which maybe they're doing here. Maybe they have a light hidden here, and once again they're using the technique that I just showed of having the light inside the room to demonstrate the destination. Here is another beautiful composition. I love how they chose the light direction here. The sun is a little lower, so it creates this very long shadows, and the main features of the house are being really well lit. Like, look how beautiful these greens look because they're being hit by the sun. Look how much depth this angle creates. So choosing the right sun angle is very important, and it's very hard sometimes to find the perfect one for your map. You need to experiment. One trick is, like, once you find an angle that works, you stick to that, don't change, because then you're gonna start making decisions with that sun angle. And you can use stuff like trees, this kind of blockers to create shadows too. That's a way to make renders and compositions more interesting, because if this tree wasn't here, this would be all bright. And in this scene, I really like how warm the light is. So they have this ceiling light here that has a very muted brightness. It's very dim light, right? Because it's supposed to make the room feel comfortable. If you want to create a cozy, warm, inviting room, are you gonna have a warm, dim light, or are you gonna have a big neon light? And then if you look outside, there's still some light in there. But at this point, the light inside is brighter than the light outside. There will be times of the day where it's the reverse, right? Where outside is brighter than inside. And the best way to learn about this is to get your camera, put in the manual mode, and just take pictures with different exposures at different times of the day, and you will learn this. So this scene is just pure beauty in terms of lighting. There is no direct light. All the light's coming through the shadows, is like soft shadows. We don't even know if this is a bright day, or I mean, like if the sky is clear, or if it's a little cloudy. There is no way to tell. Doesn't matter, because the scene feels very green and lush and rich. And the common mistake to do in games or renders is to always make the sky blue. But when you take your camera to a place like this and take pictures, you will see that the sky will be blue in some parts, but not all the time, because we were educated since kids that the sky is blue, right? And artists always want to do this, to have a colorful picture, to have something that's very eye-catching. And that's one of the ways, is to make the sky too blue. So I urge you to do some studies and see if it makes sense to make that sky super saturated. Now I want to talk about color. Here is a very pretty composition. What I like about this is the objects are pastel, right? They're not super saturated. They have some color. This whole environment is being lit by this white light. It allows the colors to do the heavy lifting here. And as an artist, it's very easy sometimes to oversaturate stuff. And then the light doesn't work anymore. It just feels off, because we subconsciously know that it's very rare to have a bright saturated color at home, because home is a place to rest, to live. And it's much more pleasant to have pastel colors. That's why most of homes are painted with pastel colors. And here, let's talk about the color palette, because this is a freezer. There is where they store meat. And what are the colors that they use it for the ambient? Is this bluish? In this scene, I really like the time of day that they chose, because this is after the work day. It's after they're done for the day, and they chose this very soft, very pleasant afternoon lighting. This is a great way to communicate the passing of time. When you choose the lighting in your scene, try to imagine if it's morning, if it's noon, if it's afternoon, if it's night. This kind of lighting choice is very easy to go overboard and make some epic sunset with like a red light and crazy god rays. But a lot of times it pays off to be subtle, to be soft, to imply what you mean. This kind of is an interesting choice when you light an environment of man-made lighting or natural lighting. And here they went for both. The light's coming through this skylight, but also they got these fluorescent lights here that don't do much, because the sun there is lighting the back. And if you see here, it looks like there is a door here that's open, like a big garage door or something like this, because the skylight is flooding into the environment, creating this beautiful gradient. What's going on in this scene? I guess if you take a few seconds to look at it, you're probably gonna get the same feeling that I'm getting, that it's a very old house. They put some old lady here that's she's smoking, and looks like she's a chain smoker, or everyone here smokes, and they smoke inside the apartment, the house. And this creates this foggy ambient. Here's an interesting light choice too, because this kind of light is very old, this incandescent light. Most of homes now, they have LED light. Okay, here's one of my favorite lighting examples in this movie, with the walls being pastel and the light being white, letting all the colors do the work here. But pay attention at the different exposures, at the different light intensities. That living room doesn't have any lights there, so it's almost pitch black. And all this room here is being lit by this single fluorescent light. And this creates a very cool contrast. It's very rare to see games using this. Usually the ambient is more even. In a game, someone would probably place a light there, so it's not pitch black. But in real life, if only one light is on inside, that's what you get. And another cool thing that happens here is how it creates a silhouette, how it enhances her silhouette, right? Like she's framed in this door frame. So we are almost done. I got this example because this scene is lit by the moonlight. And just look how dark it is. How you only see the silhouettes, just the edges, just the edge highlights. And if you've been outside in a beach or in nature in a dark night, you know, when the moon is not full, that's how light looks like. And I really like how dark they went, you know, like they didn't make the scene too bright. They kept it as dark as possible because that's how it feels like in real life. And here's the same. If you've been in the sea at night, lit by the moonlight with some ships in the back, that's how it looks like. The sky is pitch black because the camera is exposed for this light. So the stars would not be visible in this case. I want to leave you with this final screenshot. And this scene transmits a lot of good feelings of nostalgia, feelings of an idyllic place. This little morning mist, you know, makes the scene a little blurry. It gets a little bluish there because the sky is being the color from the sky is being bounced on the humidity. Who knows if they didn't use some fog in there to create this effect? Could be, right? Observe how dark the foreground is here, and then it gets brighter over there, and you get this beautiful warm light here. So there's a lot of contrast going on, right? Like we got this very bright area here with this dark trees here, the bright sky shining through the trees. This kind of light just feels very homely, very inviting. This is a place that I want to be. This is a place that feels like childhood, when we were kids outside just playing in nature. So that's all I got for the movie. If you didn't watch this movie, I highly recommend you try to watch it with an artist's eye too, and observe all the little decisions they made, because this is just a tip of the iceberg. This is just some pictures that I chose from the movie. But no matter what you're doing, if you're doing environments, if you're doing paintings, if you're doing sketches, if you're doing renders, try to keep these elements that I talked about in this movie in mind. The exposure, the color choices, the temperature, the color sources, the ambient, the set dressing. All these elements can be used to enhance your idea. So I hope this video was useful to you. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this, if you have any thoughts. I love to read your comments. See you next time. if you're ever in San Diego and you want to have amazing seafood, I highly recommend this place, Oscar's Mexican Seafood. This was probably the best fish I ever had in the United States. It really tasted like fresh fish from Brazil. So that's all I got today. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. And have a great day. Hey, if you enjoyed this video and you're looking to step up your environment art skills, I invite you to check my environment art creation course, Environment Art Mastery. This is a massive course that took me more than 2 years to put together and contains everything that I learned about environment art creation after more than a decade in the games industry. The course contains everything you need to know to be able to come up with your own ideas and take them to completion by using an easy-to-follow process that breaks down the creative process in logic steps. This process can be used to create all kinds of environments, no matter the style, theme, or engine. If you want to know more, visit environmentartmastery.com or watch the deep dive video in my channel. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again in the next video.